Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guests recently ran the Burlington Marathon. Erica Butterfield and Tara Nelson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you're a veteran marathoner, Tara, correct?
Yes.
And
First time.
And I understand she's the one who got you into it.
She inspired me, yeah.
No, but tell me, did you, during the race, because you had some trials and tribulations during it, did you ever hate her, at least for a moment?
No.
Did you ever ask yourself what you got yourself into?
Oh yeah, the whole time. Why did I do this to myself?
Well, as we were talking beforehand, I have a little bit of knowledge of marathons because my boys run the marathon, and I, believe it or not, before old age set in or middle age set in, I was, back in high school, I was one of New England's fastest runners. Yes, it's true. But Tara, how many marathons have you run?
8.
8 of them. And what have you run? Is it only Burlington or?
Burlington 6 times and Boston twice.
What year did you run Boston? Weren't last year, was it?
No, 2008 and 2010.
Right. What did you think from being a marathoner? What did you think about the bombing last year?
Oh, it bothered me. It was hard to watch all the coverage on TV because when we went in 2010, my kids went with us, and watching the coverage on TV, we figured they would have been standing right across the street, looking right at it. Right. It was right there.
Actually, the way I found out about it was my son Nick calls me up. They said, just to let you know we're okay. And I says, okay from what? Mm-hmm. And I hadn't been near a TV. I don't have a smartphone. They said there were well, they didn't know if they were bombs at the time. They knew they were explosions.
Right.
And so they had been in the proximity, but they just slipped onto the subway. But so that was how I found out about it. And Erica, have you found out that runners are some of the nicest people there are?
Yes.
It isn't like other sports. You even root, you have your favorite people, but you probably had people rooting for you all along the way, didn't you?
I did. People I didn't know, people who I saw in the neighborhoods who were cheering for me, and then were at the finish line and remembered me. And I don't know who they are, but they were there. Right. And Tara, she finished hours before me. Right. And she was still sitting at the finish line waiting for me.
And I think that's why the bombing of a marathon, mm-hmm. I think really hit people, especially those of us who are somehow intertwined with the running community, because we know what good people they are. Because, you think of running as a solitary sport, but in reality, it's really a team sport. Mm-hmm. Everybody kind of, of course you want to win, or you got your goal, you have your goals, but.
Well, we were joking before the marathon started when we're handing our husbands and friends all of our things and clothes and stuff. We said it takes a village to train someone for a marathon. So it does. It involves more than just you. Right. You got to have supportive family, which I have and she has. And
actually, it was funny watching Erica's posts on Facebook. Well, my kids and husband will no longer have to hear about training for the marathon after the race. And did it become all-encompassing for you, Erica?
It did. It becomes your life. It controls your life, really. What you eat, how you sleep, what days you're running, how much you're running. Tara and I talked every day through training, pretty much. I texted her all day long, every day. You have to line up who's going to watch your kids, and I took time off from work to train. And then, injuries, and it definitely takes over your life. We were in Burlington for my husband's graduation, and I'm pointing out to my son, this is where the marathon goes down. It goes down the street, and it will we'll be on this street, and you'll see me on this street. And my son said to me, Mom, all you talk about is the marathon. I said, just a couple more weeks, and then it's done.
That happened to us because we were in Burlington the weekend before the marathon for my daughter's basketball tournament, and I was saying, "Oh, we run down this street, and I hope the marathon weather is just like today." So same thing. Even when you've run a lot of them, you get in that zone where, and you have to think about it.
Right. Now, were you always a runner?
Since high school, yeah.
And were you, Erica?
Not long distance, no. In high school, I was a sprinter.
Right.
I didn't start running until last year.
And you were, I think I read, you were until recently a smoker?
6 months ago-ish, I quit. I stopped when I was pregnant, but I'd always go back to it because I enjoyed it,
Right.
even though I know how
Didn't
bad
know
it was.
that.
Are you done smoking now?
I'm
Do you
done.
figure?
I quit on the Great American Smokeout. I didn't realize it was that day, but I said that I was done that day, and I haven't even looked at a cigarette since.
Did any of that, whether you running the marathon and quitting smoking, was that anyhow tied in or together?
Not really. Having quit was something that like inspired me to run more. To be able to say, you know, I used to smoke, but now I run a marathon. Because you can do it. Anybody can do it.
Did you kind of, what? Not to say, you know, some people say that running is an addiction in a way.
It is.
Did you trade one addiction for a healthier
Probably.
addiction?
Probably.
Have you run since?
Once.
Oh, so you've taken a little time off
Yeah,
of
I'm
running?
taking a little time off.
Right. So what's your advice to her about when is it time to get back in the seat and get back out on the roads?
You should take time off. If your body's not ready to run, then don't. A lot of walking's good, and when you're ready to do it, you'll know. I mean, you don't want to be overly sore. You don't want to wait too long either, because then you don't have to be starting all the way over either. But just listen to your body. It's different for everybody. I mean, I know people that have run marathons and they're running the next day. I don't recommend that, but I don't know how they are running the next day. I generally take several days off. I think I took 4 complete days off in a row.
So when did you start training, Erica?
I started following a training plan around the first of the year.
First of the year, and then the marathon was when?
May 25th.
May 25th. So about almost 6 months.
So what did you get up to before? What was the longest run you went for before the marathon?
I did a 20-miler. And that was the furthest I went before the marathon.
How did you feel after that?
Fine.
You know, from being a former runner, I always had to battle the boredom. Is that I found running to get out there, and it's just like I'm thinking of everything else I should be doing, and that isn't the right attitude to have. But with my sons, they had each other being twins. But did you ever battle that boredom?
Maybe sometimes, but for me, it's such a break from everything else in my life that, you know,
Just getting
little
out there.
kids and grad school and work, and it's a time for me not to use my brain because I can shut it off.
Yeah.
Music helps too. Music, headphones.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
So how did you get into running marathons?
Oh boy. Actually, my husband's the one that convinced me that I really ought to try it. I had been over to the Vermont City Marathon for years doing as part of a relay team, which is great fun. If anyone ever wants to go see what it's about, it's a lot of fun. And some years we were competitive, some years not so much, but it was always great fun, and we'd watched all these marathoners go by. And at the finish line one year, when we were waiting for the rest of our team to get down there, he said, "You should do it." And I thought he was crazy, but that's really, you know. He said, "I know you can do it. I see all these other runners out here, and you've been running a lot of your life." So that's how I got started.
What was your first one like?
Not too bad. The recovery was by far the hardest on the first one. That's what I told Erica too. It is definitely the hardest. your body has never seen what it's like beyond mile 20 or 22 or whatever your longest training run had be. So that's the first time you were ever out there from mile 20 to 26 or whatever, 22 to 26. The first one I did was Burlington, and that is a great marathon if anyone's thinking about doing one, because the crowd support is unbelievable. They even on years that it rains, it's unbelievable, and it's also set up. Well, you know, you've been there, like a cloverleaf, and your family can cheer for you and see you in several locations without having to go too far. You know, it loops around Battery Park 2 or 3 times, and then Church Street and Battery Street. And
So how has your time changed from your first time at Burlington versus this year?
well, it had gotten slower, and the last 2 years it's been getting faster, which is, I changed training plans last year. I found a new one and tried it, and last year I ran fairly well considering the weather was terrible last year, and then this year I ran, I believe it was my second fastest time ever. So that made me very happy.
Now, what did you finish in?
Time, 3 hours and 26 minutes.
You know what I remember the last time I was there, when one of my sons came in fourth, was watching a horrible accident, though. It was down on the waterfront. I have to assume they've probably put guards up. This wheelchair athlete,
Oh, I remember hearing about that.
he went,
Yeah.
he came around a corner and he took a horrific spill and ended up down on the breakwater or whatever, the boulders and that, and we were right there, and he finished it, because, you know, those people those athletes
they're
in
amazing.
wheelchairs, you know, some people might not view them as athletes. Well, they're every bit as athletes
Oh,
as
they
you.
get so much support out there, and we runners cheer for them. And the winner, the guy who won it, he did go off course this year. He I think it's in the same area. He's somehow coming around the corner. They got him right back on, but he did.
But this guy, he crashed. He went right down over the bank onto the boulders, and they managed to get him back up, and he finished that race. So, Erica, your first journey into the marathon world didn't go quite, though. You finished, but
I did finish.
there were some moments where you had some issues.
I did, right from the start.
Now, what happened?
I tripped in a pothole and fell face first, cut my knee, and limp ran the first 3 miles, thinking really this was just, maybe I wasn't meant to do this. If I'm going to be taken out by a pothole at the starting line. And then I had some blister problems. And then after mile 15, I had some dehydration problems. And looking back, I can see the signs, but then, I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. I was dizzy, I had a headache, I wanted to throw up. And my husband said, "You've come too far, you're not quitting." And so I just pushed myself to keep going. And I ended up needing IV fluids after the end. And Tara sent me a text too. She said, "Just throw up. Just make yourself throw up."
Throw up if you have to and keep going.
Now, did you learn anything, though, that you'll utilize for the next race?
I'm not sure. I'm sure I did. Because I trained, I followed a plan, to the T.
She's very dedicated.
Right. So is there going to be a next time, do you think?
There will be, because I need to have a better time than I ended up with.
What was your time?
5:56.
But you finished.
I did.
And that's the real, because, you may have got 5:56. There's many people, the majority of the people, who couldn't do it. And I think that's, because every year anytime I'm at a race, a marathon or whatever, my first response is, being around a lot of you people, is, boy, I'm out of shape.
You people, that's what non-runners call us, you people.
Even though I joke about, I'm actually in really good shape. I'm just not a runner anymore. I go to the gym, I do this, do that, but I get body envy I think, when I'm, there's so many people who are in remarkable shape. But to be fair though, there's other people who they're not super athletes, but they have that drive to finish that marathon. So, but it's again, though, it's the people there. I don't think you're judged by what kind of condition you're in, as
No.
long as I think there is. I think one group of people that might bother people a little bit is the ones who go into it with maybe just having the longest run, maybe a 6-miler. I know that kind of bothers my sons to see people do that, because they're putting themselves at risk.
Oh, definitely.
That you have to put like you said, you have to put on a long, long miles. What advice do you have if there's anybody watching and they're thinking about doing a marathon? What would you tell them?
I would say do what she did and think about it way out ahead of time, and find a training plan that suits your needs. What pace you think you might want to run, if your goal is just to finish, if your goal is a certain time, and to put the time into it, and so you know on race day that you're going to make it there.
Just to make it to the end, to be in good shape, what would you suggest that an average person put in for miles a week?
Oh, I actually thought you might ask this. I averaged out my mileage, and it came out to about 38 miles a week. That was averaging the easier weeks and the highest mileage weeks, and they ranged anywhere from the high 20s to, I think, 51 was my biggest week. But most weeks you're going to probably put in the 30s, especially when you get up to the long runs.
Did you manage to do that?
My mileage was less than hers,
Right.
but my highest mileage week was like a 38, I think.
So it sounds like my sons are insane then.
They must put
They
90
do,
mile.
Yeah, 90 to 120.
That's
Wow.
nuts.
And,
See, we think that's nuts.
and so I guess there's different levels
Oh,
of being
yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, there are, for sure.
But one thing is a lot of people don't understand is that there's a difference of being my sons who are elite marathoners and then being Olympic marathoners. Because to be an Olympic marathoner, that is your life.
That is definitely their life.
And you can't have a job really, and that is what you are going to do. And so to go to that level, you have to just, that has to be your life. And they were never willing to.
Yeah.
Now, did you run in high school?
Track. My sister actually convinced me to run track. I was a freshman, she was a senior. And
That was at Lake Region?
Lake Region, yeah. For Pete Davis, he was my coach. And there weren't a lot of girls at the time doing track, and she said, "Oh, come on." And I said, "All right." So, and the rest
We
is-
North Country people used to laugh about your track. We used to say you had to watch it because you might step in a hole in the middle of the track. Because
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's still like that.
It's in pretty good shape considering what they
This was
they have, and I don't know as if they even hold any meets there now, but they do come use North
But
Countries.
this is hard for me to even conceptualize that. This year is my 30th year out of high school, and I find that totally mind-boggling, because in my mind I'm still 25 until I stay away from mirrors and reflections and photos, and I can keep thinking I'm 25. But so that was 30 years ago that I'm talking about your track. So you might have a great paved track today. I don't know.
No, we wish. We'd love to. But North Country has a nice one, so I know that Lake Region has used theirs before, so
Right.
that's nice.
So what are your plans for the next race, and where is it going to be?
Most likely Burlington again. I love that course, and as hard as it is to train through the winter and spring, it is a good time of year for me to do it. To run a fall marathon would be a lot of training in the summer, which is hard when with active kids. And
Now, did you see any difference, in security at Burlington following
Yes.
the Boston?
Yep.
What did you see?
Definitely, last year I noticed it a lot. There were more police officers, more state police around. There always were, you know, Burlington police and whatever, but definitely more state troopers. And the one big thing I noticed was, I don't remember if it was there this year, but last year out in the water coming in on the last few miles on the bike path, there were state police boats out there, and I had never noticed that before. More dogs, bomb sniffing dogs, and you know, some people it didn't bother me. You know, the world, unfortunately, the world of marathoning has changed, and that's just part of it.
I know my son who was at the bombing in Boston. He said he distinctly remember, and this isn't a criticism towards law enforcement. It's just a fact that you would never have thought. But he remembers, you know, it was a real lighthearted event even for the police officers, you know, leading up to the bomb, and that
Right.
they'd be having a good time
Yeah.
themselves because it is
They
a
do.
festive thing,
Yep.
and I can only imagine what it was like because you know, none of my kids were in, or their partners were in Boston this year, but I can imagine they had lost at least a bit of that festive atmosphere.
Well, I know runners that went back this year who either said they were done marathoning or not Boston again for a while. And they went back and they wanted to just go back and do it again under better circumstances. And I guess I probably would have maybe wanted to do the same thing.
So what's your goal, Erica, now? Do you want to ever do the Boston or something? Do you have a goal for yourself?
I know that I will most likely never qualify for Boston.
See, I should know this. What is the qualification?
3:40.
It
something,
depends
depending
on your age and gender. So it'd be around 3 hours and
40 something.
40 minutes for her, I think.
Right. And is there a partial lottery system too, or isn't there other ways?
No, well,
For
New York
charity,
City, New York
right?
City has lottery.
Okay.
Boston is, you can run it as an official charity runner, and you have to
Okay.
be with one of their official charities, and you have to commit to raising. I don't know the amount, and it might vary from year to year, but it is quite a bit of money. I mean, it's in the thousands.
Okay.
But the charity runners are another huge part of that race that you know, have raised millions of dollars over the years for. Oh, there's Dana-Farber, there's Boston Children's Hospital, there's all sorts of charities they run for, and they're a big part of it.
Do either one of you run races around here? You know, granted, we don't have many. You know, in the grand scheme of things, compared to like Maine and other areas, we don't have many races here. But have you run any around here?
Oh yeah, we do a
No,
lot
pretty
of
much
the local.
do all the local ones.
Yeah,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
quite a few around. If you
Yeah, you have to.
Look.
There. It isn't like, you know, the greater Portland area, like
they have them every weekend.
right,
Yeah.
and some other areas and that. But it would be, you know, it would be kind of nice that if there could be more. But on the other hand, I also know organizing them is more than meets the eye. It's
It's
like
a lot of work.
you talk to the Robitels, who
We know them very well.
and they will every year. They have to ask themselves, are they going to have the turkey trot again? Because, you know, to have an event their size
That's my favorite race.
is, oh yeah, and that's that. And you know, to tell you the truth is, it's those words that keep them going some years, because we've organized one when we did a fundraiser to bring a bunch of World War II vets down to.
I found out about that after the fact.
Right. And,
Yes.
And it was, even though we've been involved in the running world for years, organizing one and running one is totally different. You've got to have somebody with the insurance. Typically, you've got to lay out the course. You've got to get it approved by the law enforcement, the town,
towns.
and everything. It's, you know, there's a lot more to it. So.
As far as organization, Burlington is first class. It is so well organized, and the volunteers are wonderful.
Right.
Your water stop volunteers, especially near the end, they know you have had it, and they're great.
And that's one of the reasons why I'll do Burlington again.
Right.
because the crowd support, the volunteers, the whole support system of the race itself was
Yeah, the whole
the
city
best
really.
you could think of.
They roll out the red carpet really for the runners. They do. It's quite a thing.
Now your community, I think you still have it, has a fairly unique race. Glover is that was like I remember the bike race.
The Tour de Glover.
Yeah, the Tour de Glover, and what I remember about it is usually at the end of most races, you'll see people munching down on bananas, drinking Gatorade. Some of those runners were getting done, and they were sitting there slamming down 6-packs.
Or getting in line to eat the hot dogs and hamburgers that the fire department's selling.
And it was just, it's kind of a funky,
It's different.
It's no, but it's a great race because of it's like, for example, one or both of my sons have run in a race in Maine that you really, it's like the anti-healthy race is they have to run from one fast food joint to another, and they're all set up. They know you're coming, and you have to run to, say, McDonald's, eat 2 hamburgers, and then you'll run to, like, I'm just saying, Pizza Hut. You have to eat a slice of pizza, and then
And throw up.
I don't know if I'd make it.
and
I've heard of ones like that where you have to eat donuts at every.
yeah, no,
Stop or
it's
something.
different food at different places. Like instead of having a water, you might have a milkshake.
Oh, jeez.
And it isn't like a marathon, but they know you're going to be there, and so they're all set up, and you gotta. And I can't imagine. You'd have to have a cast iron
Oh,
stomach.
I think
would
so. And I
imagine.
think some race organizers are having to get creative with races because some areas, like you said, have so many races that they're trying to do different things to draw people.
You're absolutely right. You know, one race that we always loved going to, and I actually ran in it. Well, it was a resemblance of running. Other people would have said I was walking. Not Highgate. Okay, not Highgate. Well, I'll have to talk to you about it when my brain cells kick in. It's called the Egg Run.
Mm-hmm.
It's down near Milton, and it's you have your drummers along the way. You have all kinds of entertainment, and a lot of runners understand this. It isn't really, there's all kinds of prizes and everything, but you don't run for the prize, do you?
No.
Is they hand out, because it's the Egg Run, they hand out eggs, and that's what it is. And you see other ones, other races, and they have a gazillion prizes, but that isn't what makes most people run.
No.
What do you run for? What are you trying to catch?
Personal goals, I
Right.
guess, would be it, and fitness. And a lot of times if you do the same race year after year, you have a goal in mind of what time you'd like to come in, and depending on, what you did the year before or however.
And what are you running for? What's your
I had written this out and posted it on Facebook at 3 o'clock in the morning, on the morning of the marathon when I was wide awake. And there's so many things I run for. I run for me because last year I had just started running and I couldn't do it, and it's been a process. I run for my kids to show them, determination and perseverance pay off. I run for my daughter she had heart surgery, and they said she'd never be a marathoner. So whenever I want to give up, I think of her after she had her heart surgery. And I tell myself, you can't give up. She didn't give up. You can't. I run for, family members who have died before their time. And to run, it's fun. Personal goals also. I'm always pushing myself to do better I know I can do better than what I do.
Right. Okay, and we only have another couple minutes. Show your medals, and what are those?
These are awesome medals. They are heavy, they're beautiful, and they really go all out to make you feel like you
And that's at the
deserve
Burlington
them.
Marathon.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
at the Burlington Marathon.
Yeah, they're bigger than the ones that Boston hands out, so they're really, really nice.
This is my
They're
first
heavy.
real medal.
What does that mean to you, seeing that you did it?
that it doesn't matter that it took me 6 hours. I did a marathon.
And you are in a class of runner now. You know, no matter what time that you can say that you've done a marathon.
That's what I told her. I said, you are a marathoner. And she says I inspire her, but she's inspired me. We kind of crossed paths on our longest training run back in May. And we were waving, and neither could stop and say hi, because if you stop in the middle of a long run, you're done.
But did you ever
But
go out?
She inspires me, too.
Did you ever go out with her and at least
run.
once and
We
drive?
never-
She's way faster than me, so
We didn't. We just
never
were
run
always,
together.
and we always seemed to be going at different times. And that one day, we actually
the last training run.
saw
the
each
last-
other.
The last long run for both of us. She was doing 22, I was
Yeah.
doing 20.
And we knew we were going to be out.
And
But-
we were doing the same route, but not really.
You were coming
She-
the other opposite directions.
Yeah, she came through Barton, and I was coming from like the dirt road in Barton, and we met on, what is it, Park Street?
Park Street.
Park Street. We just kind of saw each other down the street, and we were running, and I chased her down the street for a little while, and
Just before the recording of this show, I was out in Glover interviewing a couple out there, and when I mentioned your name, oh yeah, she's always running, and that was their comment. Now you know what from when I see, you know, a lot of people like to joke about people when they see somebody running who's obviously out of shape. I actually say, wow.
I do too.
When I see somebody out there, out in the public, willing to put themselves out there, and I am just, I've always been the champion of the underdog. I just love to see people like that who, and I hope if any of them are watching, don't give up,
Right.
Yeah.
because,
that was me. That was.
and
I
you were
took-
probably
it-
self-conscious at first,
It took me
weren't
a long
you?
time to get outside to run because I was scared of what people thought of me. I thought that to be a runner, you have to run the whole time. And I was afraid, like, oh, well, what if I have to stop to walk? When I finally got outside, I was like, so if I have to stop to walk, I stop to walk. You know, I'm doing this, and you're in your car laughing at me.
Right.
Well, you know, my daughter did something that, because my daughter isn't a runner. She is in good shape. She's trying to get in good shape, but she did the internet program or whatever. It's the Couch to
Oh, Couch to
5K.
5K.
And
That's how I started.
Yeah.
Right, it worked.
Those are
great.
great programs.
It worked great for her because it just gives you, okay, I got 30 more seconds to go,
Right.
and then I can walk, and you don't have to start right out and just go boom.
Right.
That's how I started, and that's how I recommend other people who want to start running to start.
Right.
Now, explain the Couch to 5K just for the
It's-
viewers.
I don't know how many weeks it is. It's a couple month long
I would
program.
say so, yeah.
But the first day that you're doing it, you know, it's like run 30 seconds, walk 30 seconds.
Right.
And then the next time that you do it, it bumps up the time. Run 40 seconds, walk 20 seconds. And you're doing just a series of intervals for maybe 20 minutes of different time spans of running and walking. As you progress, your running time gets faster and your walking time gets slow, you know, less. But I remember last like February, I was doing the Couch to 5K, and I was impressed with myself for doing 5 minutes, being able to run 5 minutes at a time.
And I think that's what happens with anybody who is trying to get into shape, whether it's running or something else, is you didn't get out of shape overnight.
Right.
And I think some people, they just don't give themselves a break. And I think this Couch to 5K really, the way they have it set up, it understands, whoever made it understands that, you know, it's a process getting back into shape.
Everything is a process. Doing the marathon training was a process.
It is a process.
You don't just sign up for a marathon and say, okay, I'm going to do it.
Right.
It's months of training, of dedicating your life to it, really.
Okay, well, final words, Tara. What advice, what's your last piece of advice for anybody who's thinking about following in your footsteps?
Set your goals, and there may be setbacks, but don't dwell on that. Just keep moving forward, and you can get there.
Same question.
Same thing. You can do it. You can set your mind to it, and you can do it. You make a plan and put it on your calendar. Say, tomorrow I'm going out and I'm going to run 5 minutes. And then the next day say, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to do 10 minutes. And pick a 5K at the end of the summer that you want to do and put it on your calendar. Sign up for it.
Right.
And have your eye on the prize.
I guess I have one more question for you. Have you inspired, just because she inspired you, have you inspired anybody else now to change their lives a little bit?
People have said that I have. I've had somebody tell me that they're training for a marathon now because I inspire them. I've had other people that started running because you really feel like when you're not a runner, like I can't do this.
Right.
There was a time when I looked at 5Ks as impossible. I had a friend in Minnesota who she trained for a 5K and I was just in awe that she did it. And then when you did the marathon last year, I was like, you're crazy.
She did tell me that.
Like, how do you possibly do 26 miles? I don't understand it. And eventually you learn the limits of your body.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the show, and I look forward to seeing your names in the roster of future marathons. I doubt that mine will be on one, on a roster, but who knows? I might be able to get our producer, Todd Pronto, to come on, and we might, maybe we'll just try for like a meager 3-hour race or something like that. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.